Imagine a simple grain of salt, something so common, so small, but which carries ancient secrets, hidden powers, and a symbolism so profound that even the Bible paid attention to it. Did you know that salt was used as a spiritual covenant between God and his people? That, for the ancient world, it was not just a spice, but a symbol of purity, protection, and wisdom? Today, we'll explore the hidden side of salt and discover why it has been revered as a sacred element for centuries. But before we start, I'm going to extend an invitation to you. Leave your like right now and subscribe to the channel, because what you're going to learn here is something you've recently seen around. This video is a mysterious journey, which can change the way you see something so simple and present in your everyday life. And I guarantee you, what we're going to reveal about salt and its spiritual power will make you compensate for even the small rituals you perform, like seasoning your food. Every minute of this video, you'll learn curious details, from how salt was used in sacred covenants in the Bible to its purifying role in rituals from different cultures. Every detail here was designed to lead you to a deeper understanding, something you won't find anywhere else. And I say more. What you will discover throughout this video can help transform your way of connecting with the spiritual, of understanding the protection and invisible power that salt carries. Therefore, it is essential that you watch every second. This knowledge is built little by little, and skipping parts can make you miss important connections between the biblical stories, the symbolisms and the teachings that are revealed gradually. It's not just about learning, it's about living this experience. Salt, for many, is just a condiment, but for those who know its true meaning, it is a bridge between the earthly and the sacred. I believe you want to understand this mystery as deeply as I do, so follow each revelation, because a complete understanding is in every detail. If you're ready to delve into this mystery, come with me. Put yourself in the shoes of the ancients who viewed salt as a treasure, a spiritual protector, and a symbol of the eternal covenant. Throughout this video, you will see that each grain of salt is actually a fragment of something much bigger, much deeper. So leave a like, follow every detail, and together let's uncover the spiritual power of salt and the secrets that the Bible has to tell us. Oh, salt, a simple ingredient that seems so common, so commonplace on our tables and in our daily lives. But what if I told you that it holds ancient secrets? That behind every grain lurks a spiritual power so deep and ancient that even sacred texts devote attention to it? Have you ever stopped to wonder why, in so many cultures and religions, salt is seen as an almost magical element, capable of protecting, purifying, and even sealing spiritual pacts? Today, we will delve into the mysteries of salt, uncover its secrets, and understand its true spiritual power. In sacred texts, especially the Bible, salt is not just any condiment. It assumes a symbolic and spiritual role that few know in depth. To many, this may sound like an ancient superstition, but the secrets that salt holds go far beyond mere traditions. Get ready for an intense spiritual journey, where we will explore the importance of salt, its functions, and its deep meaning in the Bible, revealing why it is a powerful symbol of purification, preservation, and alliance with the divine. But before we get to the bottom of it, pause and think. What do we really know about salt? Is it just a seasoning? Or are we talking about an element with a spiritual power that surpasses centuries and remains alive today? Don't leave there, as this is just the beginning of our journey. In the Bible, salt appears recurrently, always in context full of meaning. Since ancient times, it has been considered a symbol of purity and integrity. At a time when preservation methods were limited, salt became essential for preserving food, and not just physically. It was also seen as something that kept the spiritual essence of things intact. Imagine that, for thousands of years, salt was one of humanity's greatest treasures, not only because of its usefulness, but because of what it represented. In the Old Testament, salt was used in sacrifices as a way of purifying offerings made to God. But why? The answer to this question goes far beyond what is seen on the surface. In the book of Leviticus, we see a direct instruction: be sure to season the grain offerings with salt. The word is clear, but the reason? This salt, used in rituals, represented the people's purity and fidelity to God. It symbolized a connection between the material and the spiritual, a connection that should be pure and indestructible, just like the effect of salt on things. The symbolism of salt goes beyond purification. It represents the covenant, a solid, indestructible, and eternal pact. In several passages, God mentions the covenant of salt with his people, a covenant that could not be broken, a sacred agreement that transcended time and space. Let's delve deeper into this idea of pact and understand how a simple ingredient became so important. Why salt and not another element? Is there something special, some invisible property in this mineral that makes it worthy of a spiritual oath? But this is just the beginning. Soon, we will understand how salt not only symbolizes pacts and purity, but also becomes an agent of spiritual protection. Stay with us, because the next step will reveal another important secret about this mysterious element. If you are intrigued, now is the time to open your eyes and delve even deeper into this mystery. The covenant of salt is one of the most enigmatic concepts in the Old Testament. In Numbers, God tells Aaron, "All the sacred offerings that the Israelites brought to the Lord I give to you and your children. It is a covenant of salt, permanent, before the Lord for you and your descendants." But what exactly does this covenant of salt mean? Salt, in that context, symbolized something pure, something that could not be harmed. He represented an indestructible bond, an eternal promise between God and his people. It was a guarantee that the covenant would be preserved just as salt preserves food. At a time when there were no conservation methods like today, salt was the only element that prevented the circulation of food, which made it essential for survival. Thus, when God refers to a covenant of salt, he is saying that his commitment to the people of Israel is incorruptible, eternal, and pure. This is not just a symbol, but a powerful statement. It is as if God was saying, just as salt preserves the flesh and protects it from interruptions, I protect and preserve you. The choice of salt for this alliance was not random. It carries a deep meaning that reaffirms God's loyalty. And here comes a disturbing question. Does this idea of an indestructible pact, symbolized by salt, still make sense today? What happens if we lose the salt? If we lose the sense of that purity and integrity in our spiritual life? Let this question resonate as we continue to explore the secrets of salt and its spiritual connections. Imagine a time when darkness was almost absolute as night fell, when danger could lurk around every corner, and where protection was more than a physical necessity. It was a matter of spiritual survival. Salt then assumed the role of an invisible guard, seen as an element with the ability to purify the body, mind, and spirit. In ancient times, salt was used in purification rituals. In 2 Kings, we find a curious passage. The prophet Elisha asks for salt and throws it into a source of contaminated water. Miraculously, the water is purified and becomes safe to drink. But why was salt chosen for this purification? Was it just a symbolic element? Or was there a spiritual power behind this gesture? In that act, salt was not just a mineral. He represented divine intervention, the power to transform something impure into something pure. It has become a symbol of purification in many spiritual traditions, and its presence in religious rituals across cultures indicates that salt has always been seen as an element capable of warding off evil. This concept was so widespread that, to this day, many popular practices use salt to cleanse environments and avoid negative energy. For the ancient Israelites, salt was more than a matter of seasoning. It carried spiritual significance, functioning as a protective shield against corruption and unseen forces that could threaten the faith. It's fascinating to think that while many see just a simple white grain, the ancients saw something sacred, endowed with spiritual power that extends beyond human understanding. But how far could this go? Does salt really have a connection to spiritual protection? One of the most emblematic moments in which salt appears in the Bible is in the words of Jesus, "You are the salt of the earth." But what did he really mean by that? Is it just a metaphor, or is there something much deeper in this calling? When Jesus referred to his followers as salt of the earth, he was giving them a special role. Salt, as we have seen, was something precious, rare, and essential. Jesus was saying that his disciples were equally precious and essential to the world. They were the ones who should preserve faith and truth, preventing the world from deteriorating spiritually. But just as salt that loses its flavor becomes useless, Jesus warned that those who lose their spiritual integrity also lose their true reason for existing. At this point, it is interesting to note how salt represented virtues such as wisdom and incorruptibility. Being salt of the earth should, therefore, be someone capable of preserving and bringing light to the spiritual lives of the people around them. It was a call to be a positive influence, a model of righteousness and integrity. This idea goes beyond the Bible. The expression salt of the earth resonates to this day, representing those who have unshakable morals, who live with purpose and purity. But at the same time, it brings a warning. What happens when salt loses its flavor? Can we recover this purity and virtue? Or once lost, is it gone forever? These questions continue to resonate and intrigue those seeking to understand the power of salt in their own spiritual lives. Have you ever wondered why salt is still used in spiritual practices around the world? Even outside the biblical context, many cultures maintain the use of salt as an element of protection and purification. From ancient rituals to modern beliefs, salt remains alive as a spiritual symbol, resisting time and cultural changes. In some traditions, it is believed that salt can neutralize negative energies and even create a kind of spiritual barrier. It is common to see people throwing salt in the corners of the house, or even carrying some salt with them, as a form of protection against what cannot be seen. Is this just superstition? Or is there really a connection between salt and the spiritual world that science cannot yet explain? Returning to the Bible, we see that salt always appears as something indispensable, both in practical and spiritual life. It was part of the offerings to God, used to purify, preserve, and seal sacred covenants. And what does this mean for us today? The symbolism of salt can remind us of the importance of maintaining our integrity, our purity in a world that constantly tries to corrupt. After all, if salt represents fidelity, protection, and purity, wouldn't it be a kind of subtle reminder that we must preserve these values in our own lives? Think about it. Just as salt keeps food pure and protected, can it also protect us and keep our spiritual essence intact? Throughout history, we see salt being used in spiritual practices and rituals in different cultures around the world. Interestingly, in many places it assumed the same central function of purification and protection as in the Bible. In purification rituals, salt was sprinkled in sacred places to protect against negative energies. In some Eastern cultures, it is left at the entrance of homes to create a barrier against evil spirits and negative influences. Are these practices just coincidental, or is there something special about salt that awakens this feeling of spiritual protection? Studies in spiritual anthropology indicate that salt has always had a symbolic connection with purity, due to its ability to preserve and purify. In ancient civilizations, for example, it was common for salt to be placed on the tombs of the dead, an attempt to maintain the spiritual peace of the departed. In Japan, even today, sumo wrestlers throw salt into the ring before fights, in a ritual to ward off evil and bring good luck. Likewise, in the Catholic tradition, there is holy water, which is blessed, and saline to be used for the purification and spiritual protection of the faithful. These examples not only show the universal presence of salt as a symbol of protection, but they also make us question, what is really behind this mineral that makes it such a powerful symbol? It is as if salt has the ability to act as a portal, connecting the physical to the spiritual, the earthly to the sacred. And as we delve deeper, we realize that perhaps salt is more than a natural element. Perhaps it really is a kind of spiritual bridge, something God gave us to record our connection with the divine. When we analyze salt, we are dealing with a compound of sodium and chlorine, essential elements for life. But does this chemical combination hold a hidden spiritual secret? Scientifically, we know that salt is vital to human health. It helps regulate fluid balance in the body and is crucial for muscle and nerve function. Now, let's think about another aspect. Salt is one of the few minerals consumed and distributed directly throughout the human body, something that makes it unique. In the Bible, salt is mentioned as a symbol of covenant and eternity, and that is exactly what it represents in scientific terms, an indissoluble element that remains preserved over time. Furthermore, salt has the ability to attract water, purifying it in certain chemical processes. This perhaps explains its use in purification rituals. Just as salt purifies physically, it also purifies spiritually, attracting what is pure and repelling what is impure. Here we enter a fascinating mystery. What if the chemical properties of salt, its ability to preserve, purify, and balance, were not just physical aspects, but also spiritual ones? Did God design salt to be a visible tool of invisible power, a tangible representation of His protection? Salt can then be more than a mineral. It can be a metaphor for how we should balance and purify our own lives. Today, with so many options and technological advances, salt has lost some of its shine. It is present on our tables, in abundance in supermarkets, and we rarely stop to think about its symbolic value. But this makes us reflect. Will we lose respect for something that was once considered sacred? Could it be that when we lose the symbolism of salt, we are also missing the spiritual lessons it represents? In modern society, spirituality is often left aside in favor of a materialistic and fast-paced routine. Salt, however, remains a reminder that simple things, those that have existed since the beginning of humanity, still carry value. And the fact that it has been used as a spiritual symbol by so many cultures and religions over the centuries is perhaps a reminder that some spiritual truths are eternal. Therefore, many seek to return to the symbolism of salt, using it in a ritualistic way and remembering its role in the Bible and other traditions. People around the world continue to use salt to mark boundaries, purify environments, and remove evil. This ancient practice continues to fascinate, as if, even deliberately, we seek to connect to a power that spans generations and resist the passing of time. But what about you? Have you ever thought about how a simple grain of salt can carry centuries of history, mystery, and faith? Can salt help us remember who we really are and what really matters in our spiritual journey? So, did you also have the spiritual power that a simple grain of salt carries? Throughout this video, we explore ancient mysteries, sacred pacts, and symbolism that transforms something so everyday into a true channel of connection with the divine. Knowing these secrets is just the beginning of a journey that teaches us to see the spiritual world even in the smallest details of everyday life. If you enjoyed discovering these biblical secrets, take the opportunity now to leave your like and support the channel. This simple gesture helps a lot and ensures that we can continue to bring content full of mystery and spirituality like this. And don't stop here. How about sharing this video with your friends and family? You can open their eyes to this new perspective, creating a network of people connected to this knowledge that spans generations. And, of course, don't forget to follow our next videos. With each new content, we will explore other biblical mysteries and spiritual secrets that will transform your vision on topics you never imagined. So, sign up, turn on notifications, and get ready for the next discoveries we have to share with you. We'll see you in the next video.